three of our committees, and then also a committee of the whole. And our first part of the evening will be with our Planning and Development Committee with Councilperson Chris Fall as chair.
Thank you. First on our agenda is a community food initiative presentation. This is something that many of the groups that we give money to come by and inform us of all the great things that they've been doing in our community. So welcome. You're kind of one of our first ones for the new year.
Great. Thank you so much for having me back again. So as I think you all know, I'm Mary Nally, Executive Director of Community Food Initiatives. And we have been working a great deal the past year in 2015, and this will continue into 2016, on developing a new strategic plan for our organization. It had been a long time coming to really do a deep dig into identifying what our goals were and where we want our programs to go. And so we have new vision, missions, and values statements that I wanted to share just to kind of set the stage for the work that we do in southeastern Ohio. So, our vision is to create a resilient region in which everyone in our community has equitable access to an inclusive and thriving local food system. And we really hope that all of our programs are helping move in that direction. Our values are really looking at the assets of the region as opposed to looking at what some of our more long-standing struggles have been, barriers to services, chronic generational poverty, and food insecurity. We've heard a lot about that over the years, and we think that it's high time through community food initiatives to really talk about the strengths that we have. So we see that as being our values with culture and community, really identifying the assets that we have here, particularly around food preservation, something that is absent to many other parts of the country. We are focusing on education and empowerment because we believe that sharing the knowledge to grow and prepare wholesome foods, especially when it's peer-to-peer learning, can really help people feel empowered to feed their families and improve their communities. We are a justice-based organization, and that's not just in terms of food justice, but also environmental justice, looking at living wages, and improving the rights of all people. And of course, all of our work that we do is collaborative in nature. As you know, we have a very small staff, so it takes a lot of us coming together to help make this work happen. With community gardens, we have 6 around the county, 2 of which are in the city of Athens. But in total, we finally measured everything last year, and we have around 20,000 square feet of garden space that is currently being utilized by individuals throughout the county. And we're very proud of getting to do that work. In 2015, we received funding from Grow Appalachia, which is a foundation out of Kentucky, and they helped fund a select group of our community gardeners in various sites to do more season extension work. And so we were able to put up small low tunnels for them to be able to grow further into the fall. And they were able to increase the amount of food. Just the 9 different sites, produced over 3,000 pounds of food. And most of our garden plots, just to put that in perspective, are only 10 feet by 10 feet. So not too shabby for one growing season. And our workshop series continued, and we really worked on expanding that, both with our workshops and our Discovery Kitchen, to partner with other organizations. So we've been doing a lot more with our local libraries and with Job and Family Services, both at the county home and the workstation. That's an example of one of our low tunnels. That's one up in Nelsonville, and we're just really excited to finally show these off. We've continued doing our planning for community orchards. We did no new planting in 2015, but in 2016 I did have a conversation with Ron Lucas about making sure that we have good deer-proof fencing, and we'll finally be able to put up some better signage so that people will know where these trees are. It's been an ongoing process. That component of our program is very volunteer-based in terms of having the capacity to do that. So we're continuing to work on that, as well as our longstanding seed sovereignty work. We had the pleasure of going to the Pawpaw Festival again in 2015 and doing 2 seed-saving workshops there, as well as hosting our annual seed exchanges. With our school garden program, that has really been expanding in 2015. We got to work with Vinton County Middle School. This is a picture from there. They put in an enormous school garden and actually had one of the low tunnels put in. They were a site for that. So we're really seeing more and more teachers become involved in identifying the benefits of having a creative educational space, not just to learn gardening, but also to instill confidence and just an enthusiasm for lifelong learning. What we provide through this program is professional development and technical support. So we actually host workshops that offer continuing education units for teachers, and we're really trying to go more in that direction so that the teachers in schools themselves take ownership of these projects and feel like they have the materials and knowledge to do them successfully. So again, material support, we are a big connector for all of the seeds and plant starts, mulch. We kind of help be that connective tissue between a lot of people that might have things that these school gardens need. And of course, we still go into the schools and do a lot of direct service teaching. In fact, we got to go in 39 times in 2015 and reached over 600 students. So that program, as we've been kind of honing in on what we can do with our limited capacity, we've seen an impressive amount of growth in the past few years. Our Yeah Kids program, which I feel like most people know us through this, in many ways was a great year again. Still over $1,000 going to these participants. And for those who don't know, this is basically a summer education and work program for low-income kids that live at Hope Drive Apartments. They learn production gardening techniques, and they sell that at the Athens Farmers Market, as well as value-added products such as jams, sauerkraut, and other fermented foods. They did some dehydrating experiments this year, so that was really fun. And we're working on actually providing a more in-depth educational component to that program than we have in the past. So we've seen whole cycles of families, children, go through this program, so we're really thrilled with that, and they're having lots of fun. And we've also been working with those children, as well as the other children that live at Hope Drive, in between when we do the Yeah Kids program, so we're kind of expanding that with support from the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority, and that those in-between summer times are called Kid Power. So we're just trying to offer more connection for positive mentorship and opportunities. The donation station had another record-breaking year, collecting and distributing local food to area food pantries. We did almost 87,000 pounds, which was awfully close to my bold goal of 100,000 pounds. So 2016 will be the year for 100,000 pounds. We're getting very close. And we were able to invest over $14,000 in the local food economy, and all of that are quarters, dimes, and dollars that people donate when they come to see us at the Athens Farmers Market or the Chester Hill Produce Auction. So I feel like that's a win for everyone in the community, and we're very proud of that, and that really contributes very, very far. Excuse me. Our Discovery Kitchen program is the educational arm of the donation station, and we've been having a lot more fun with this, kind of seeing how we can adapt this program to the various pantries and agencies and community organizations that are interested in having any kind of educational event that helps teach people how to prepare healthy meals with the local ingredients that we have available. It's designed, of course, for people that would be receiving donation station food, but we've been working more, as I said, with Job and Family Services and with the Athens Public Library to just really work on getting this information out to everyone, because we can all benefit for knowing more things to do with eggplant. So Veggie Bingo is one of those things. So sometimes it's a sit-down class, and sometimes it's more just some fun games and getting to have a sample and some recipes. But we've had a significant increase in the number of events and people reached with that program as we move forward. Another exciting thing is that we're working on developing the donation station in other communities across our region. This is funded by the Osteopathic Heritage Foundation. We received significant funding from them specifically to make the work that we're doing here locally, not just with community food initiatives, but also Rural Action and ACENET on identifying what's working well to help get healthy food to those in need in this region, and kind of branching that out and making it really sustainable. So part of that is Becky Hudson, who actually was formerly an AmeriCorps service member working with us with a donation station and Discovery Kitchen. We hired her on at the end of her service year to be a regional developer. So she's visiting different communities, assessing the strengths of their local food system and seeing who would be a good fit for having a donation station to help them also address the food security needs that they have in their community. And we've got several communities in Ohio interested, and so we're very excited about that. So stay tuned for more. The other thing I would say about the donation station development is that we're working on identifying opportunities for social enterprise so that community food initiatives at some point will have a more diverse revenue base, and so we're not just looking at being solely grant funded or depending on the donations of people to support us, but also looking at developing ways that we can generate revenue. So with the donation station development, that would be a consultation-based model enterprise. Our seed and plant start giveaways, as you can see, were an enormous hit. I was amazed this year. We tracked how many counties those seed potatoes go to, and it's 11 counties in southeastern Ohio. So that semi-truck full of seed potatoes is going very, very far. And if you remember from last year, generally if you plant one potato, you're going to get about 10 pounds back. So, that's over 300,000 pounds of potatoes there. If all of those went into the ground and were taken care of. We also did our seed giveaways, of course, with almost 5,000 seed packets and over 4,600 plant starts. And I would really want to give a shout out to the Master Gardeners program that helps donate those plant starts that we distribute as well. And you may have heard that we're starting a regional seed company. This is our other new social enterprise that we started in 2015, which really started organically through some of our local seed savers that were already participating in our inventory and teaching seed saving workshops. So right now we're in year 2 for our pilot. In 2017, we plan to launch this as a regional enterprise. We're very excited to do this because there's a great demand and kind of a gap in our local food system that we don't, we have all of this great local food from vegetables to dairy to meat and breads, but we're not really talking about where that food comes from at the very core level. And something that we have that's very unique in Central Appalachia is a history of seed saving, and so we really want to help support those that are doing that by creating a seed growers cooperative. And so those seed savers themselves will identify what are the viable plants that can do really well here that they've been saving seeds for. They will collectively set what fair prices are, and then CFI will negotiate with them to purchase those seeds. We'll test for germination. We'll do all of the packaging and labeling and managing retail and inventory. We got to go to the Steiner Summit this year and were awarded some funds there, as well as getting IOUs from several different local retailers who kind of specialize in local food all across the state of Ohio and a bit in West Virginia that was also represented at the summit who want to sell these seeds. So If you know seed savers, please tell them to give us a call, because we're wanting to make sure that we've got the supply and demand worked out well when we roll this out in full in 2017. Our financial report, and I apologize, this is a little small on the screen here, but I wanted to point out that 2015 was a really incredible year. We created 3 new staff positions, plus an AmeriCorps Vista that joined us to help us grow our programs and really increase capacity, which has always been a challenge for us. We have so much that we want to do and a very limited number of people on the ground to do it. We also were able to provide full-time staff health insurance options for the first time, so I'm very thrilled about that. And that's kind of going back to the values that we set, that, a living wage and taking care of our own is important, and we want to be an example of how we value each other in the community. We also almost doubled our income in 2015 and our expenses, with a lot of those large kind of new supportive players, the Osteopathic Heritage Foundation in particular, but also Ohio State University Research Foundation. We were a partner in a USDA Rural Community Development Initiative grant, and Grow Appalachia, as I mentioned, as well as many other local and regional foundations and supporters. So we've been honored to get to have those opportunities, and are having an exciting time learning how to grow in a smart way so that we can maintain all of these things that we're doing. Our goals for 2016, especially in relation to the city of Athens, are to continue to increase support to community gardeners for better production, and by that I mean really higher yields in their plots, management and utilization of season extension. So we want to be teaching more people how to use low tunnel technology. At the East Side, South Side, and Nelsonville community gardens, we will have dedicated plots for the donation station, and we'll be looking for garden stewards and volunteers to help with that production. That will help us get to that 100,000 pound mark that we're hoping for this year. For the Community Orchard Project, we're going to be assessing all of the trees and bushes, make sure that they have mulch, repair any fencing on plants that are less than 3 years old so that they're well protected, and install signage for trees and bushes, as I mentioned before. With school gardens, we're going to continue working with all 5 school districts in the county. We, at this point, have school gardens at every single school building in the county except for the middle school, and they just kind of struggle with space there, but I'm sure if we're creative we can think of something. In a few weeks here we'll be having a garden build party at West Elementary. We're putting in a garden there with a lot of support and engagement from their Parent-Teacher Association. We'll be coordinating and training volunteer corps to help assist with summer maintenance, and we are in collaboration with Rural Action, AceNet, and Live Healthy Appalachia. We are hosting a regional farm-to-school conference in early March, and that will be not just regional for southeastern Ohio, but we'll have people from Asheville, North Carolina, and Kentucky, and all across central Appalachia attending. So it won't just be the usual suspects doing all of the presentations. We're bringing in people from the outside, so if you're interested, it's a very affordable conference, and there are scholarships available too. With our donation station, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing, and especially working on partnering with our neighboring counties. And we already have a schedule for Discovery Kitchen classes in the public libraries, pantries, and social service agencies going into summer. Some of our overarching strategic plan goals are to increase the impact of our programs on community by strengthening our design and especially our evaluation process, so that we can see what's working the best and move in that direction. We really want to internally work on our human resources management so that we have consistent satisfaction, meaning, and opportunity in their work. And this has been one of the first times that we actually, I neglected to mention this, Jessica Chadwell, who was our community garden coordinator, AmeriCorps service member for the past 2 years, is the person who assisted in spearheading the seed company, and she is now the developer for that company. So we had the privilege of hiring 2 of our AmeriCorps service members this year, and it's been really amazing because usually the bulk of our staff are AmeriCorps service members, and they're great, but they usually only are able to serve 1 to 2 year terms and are living below the poverty level while they're doing that service. And so to be able to hire them into staff positions has been a really amazing thing. I feel very lucky to have gotten to do that. We'll also be working on continuing to strengthen our financial management and fund development systems to really maximize the value we obtain from funders and members. And additionally, we'll be working to improve our public relations, to just keep getting the word out there about who we do and how people can be involved. So thank you very much. That's my presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, I'd like to open up any questions just by saying, wow, a lot of, it's great because, you have a lot of funders, and I think that it's great to see that our money that we give you is leveraged so well, and that it's producing jobs with benefits and living wages. I mean, that's one of the things that we really strive to when funding these sort of things. I just wanted to say that we have, in the past and this year, we have budgeted $3,000 for your composting project, which is out of the garbage program, and $3,000 for the community gardens, which is out of enhancement, which I don't remember the name. So I just, that's been budgeted, and so I love the feedback and everything that you give us. I think that's a really good vehicle to get to have people know about you. So I'd like to open it up for any questions, comments?
Thank you, Mary. How long has community initiatives been rolling?
This 2016 is its 23rd year. And actually, so part of the strategic plan that I'm very excited about, it's a 3-year plan that we're going to be rolling out. So that will take us to our 25th year anniversary. And we have an incredible volunteer intern right now who is tracking down all of the past directors and board presidents of the organization to put together kind of a history of the evolution that this organization has gone through, because it really has, and it's amazing to me wherever I go. I feel like I wind up finding someone who worked at CFI at some point in time or had some kind of connection to the organization. So
I think that's awesome. I think that's perfect.
Thanks.
Because a lot of people do hear CFI, but they don't really know how long it's been around.
Right.
And I really appreciate the fact that you go full circle in terms of everything from the donation station and showing people how to grow their own food. But the Seed Savers program is huge, and unless you really understand food and what's going on in the world and food economy, I mean, that's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question? Patrick?
I would just applaud you wholeheartedly for your work on the Seed Savers program. I think that's essential with the way that certain businesses are trying to buy up the seed. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'll pass it along to all the people that are really doing the work. I'm just pushing papers around. But thank you, Patrick.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to say I really like this program. Every time the YAC kids have their thing on Hope Drive, I always go and end up buying 2 more quarts of pickled something, and then I always like it. I like something like that. But I was just curious, since this whole thing is about health and so on, healthy foods and things. Are you looking at, say, medicinal plants, other than say lettuce and things, but I don't know, plants that have medical value, as drugs or supplements and so on?
Right. That's a great question, actually. We have been doing more workshops just recently on the connection between what we eat and health. We're going to have workshop this past Saturday, but unfortunately because of the weather we will be rescheduling, but it's about the connection between mental health and food, and we are in the process of scheduling a workshop at United Plant Savers in Rutland as well with Rebecca Wood, identifying and kind of just giving an introductory workshop on medicinal foods. In addition to that, Community Food Initiatives is part of the Appalachian Funders Network, and there's a food systems working group that actually just renamed itself. This just happened 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to remember. I think it's the Food and Agriculture Systems Working Group now, and we changed our name specifically because we wanted to recognize that when we're looking at our local food systems, there's actually a lot of things that are right outside of that realm, both in terms of medicinal, agroforestry work, or fabric arts in terms of people that are using wool sheep, things like that, and even in some of our neighboring states where hemp has been legalized, and so now they're having to figure out all of those things. And so within that network, that's a network of funders and practitioners, and we're working together to have a very thoughtful and systematic approach to moving forward in sustainability, not just with food. There's also an energy and health component to that network. But it's all integrated so that we're learning more from each other, identifying best practices and sharing that information. Yeah, so we're excited to be part of that, to connect
Thank you.
the dots there, yeah.
You have something?
I have just a geographical question.
Yeah.
You kept mentioning the Southside Gardens.
Yes.
Where are those located?
So the Southside Gardens are at Carriage Hill Apartments off of Richland Avenue. And they're, predominantly, most of the people that garden there are residents of Carriage Hill, but it's open to anyone. So.
And then the West Side Gardens, how does that?
Right, so the West Side Gardens actually operate independently. Community Food Initiatives is kind of here as a support for them, and I connect with their steering committee, but it was maybe 5 years ago, don't quote me on that they spun off on their own to become independent, and they have their own steering committee that manages them. So then we also have the East Side Garden, which is off of East State Street near the community center, behind the dog park. Mm-hmm. It's the most hidden community garden that we have. And then we have one in Chansey near the library and post office, in Nelsonville, and then in Gloucester right across the parking lot from HapCap.
Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, I feel like you're really ahead of the curve. There's so many communities that don't have this, but I think as we look forward, we're going to need it.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I too wanted to, I'm getting over a little frog in the throat, but again, thank you for your hard work. I won't be kissing Jeff tonight.
Tomorrow either.
But I wanted to ask, and maybe you covered it, and I apologize if I missed this, but did you discuss, or am I correct in remembering that CFI was also looking at a concessions program at the school system and healthy food alternatives? Is that?
So I can understand why. So Keith Wild, who was our school garden coordinator last year as an AmeriCorps service member, independently of his work at CFI, was working on healthy concessions. Okay. And that I know that he was working in partnership with the Athens City County Health Department on that. So I'm not sure where that activity stands, if that's been moving forward. I haven't heard, but...
I thought that sounded ingenious, too.
Oh, yeah. It got some very quick traction at some of the schools.
Wonderful.
So I'm assuming that it's still going on, but I guess I'm out of the loop on that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
As funny as this may sound, this is one of the presentations I look forward to every year. Just because it's been exponential growth. Watching what you've done and watching how you've stretched the dollars, and now hearing about employment and things of that nature, it's fantastic. And I have to say, too, this is probably one of the fastest recs I've ever approved, was when this one came across. It was for $6,000 in total. 3,000, as you mentioned, from garbage, and 3,000 came from Athens City Enhancement. And also to say I'm a huge fan and supporter of the youth entrepreneurial at Hope, youth entrepreneurs at Hope, to watch them at Farmers Market, learning the whole process from ground to a product to sell them. It's, I think Member Reisner said that it's, I'll buy your kimchi, I'll buy whatever you've got, because it's, I know it's been put together by good hands. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. We're done with our love test. Thank you very much. Okay. Next on our agenda is another exciting topic, but not quite as exciting, is litter. Oh boy. It has been brought forward that our litter citation process in Chapter 5 needs to have an appeal process with it, and this has been brought forward by our law director with the help of Patrick McGee, as pointing it out to our law director that we need an appeals process. So it's kind of housekeeping. So I'll just bring forward language that could be borrowed from another part of the code. Thank you. To update it. So good. Okay. I have two miscellaneous. First miscellaneous is our water. This is our annual consumer confidence report, which is sent out by by the city every year about our water. And I know a lot of people, because of Flint, have questions or concerns about their water, and that's across the nation. So we have this that has been sent out publicly. It's sent out every year. It gives everything about the water quality, all the tests that we've done, the state of our water quality right now. And I would say that the state of our water quality is very, very good. So I would like to this can be linked from the website, from our city website, just so that everybody have confidence in our water. Mayor?
Thank you. I mean, if you look through this report, our city water is excellent. It's above excellent. And something else that's worth pointing out about our water supply in terms of infrastructure and our water treatment plant is that there are no lead pipes in our system anywhere. That's the major problem with Flint. And not to throw Flint under the bus, it's apples and oranges when you look at our water production and delivery in comparison to other cities.
And so I think that it's a fair thing to always point out that we do send these out every year. So.
I'd like to add that we also have a wellhead protection plan and a working group that has been a part of this city for how long, Paula? 15 years? At least 15 years. And thank goodness for the wellhead protection plan, because I think that gives us additional protections if there was any threat to our water system, because then we can link to the EPA and other groups in terms of support for keeping our citizens safe. So this city has developed quite a plan in terms of how to keep our drinking water safe and in excellent condition.
The wellhead ordinance, the original one was 2002.
And I think you've done 2 modifications then in 9 and then again in 11. And we anticipate bringing forward some additional ones this year as well. So I'll get with you on that.
And we also have the oil and gas mitigation and monitoring program. That's in the code too. So that goes further to protect our resources. So the second miscellaneous, I would like to kind of describe how I see the bed and breakfast issue going forward. What we've been getting a lot of comment and questions, and I think that it behooves us to look at this process in 2 distinct steps. The initial discussion began with updating our code from a recommendation from the Planning Commission that had just to do with traditional bed and breakfasts, updating the code and the definition. And that was more in line with certain streets in the commercial areas of allowing the bed and breakfast. We had a public hearing last year in November, December on it, and that's pretty much ready to go. With that discussion, this whole issue of peer-to-peer, 21st century sharing B&Bs, whatever you want to call them, has come forward. And I think, and I would like to separate that whole discussion out because we need to have Planning Commission bring forward some kind of recommendation. So that's going to be a little bit longer process. I'm going to ask Paul Logue to bring something to Planning Commission in the next couple of weeks. And that will be, Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on it, make recommendations, and then it will go through a city council process. So people who are, voicing concerns, admiration, hope, whatever you want to call about we have to name it something besides Airbnb because that's a trademark. So we have to figure out a name first of all. That will be a later process. Hopefully it will be churning through the Planning Commission and then Council in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So public hearings, you always have to have 30-day public notice for them. So that's my plan, to get the one that we've already discussed and pretty much Commission acknowledgement and consideration, and take out this other discussion because it's getting confused between the two.
So when you're saying confused between the two, there's the business zone,
right,
bed and breakfast group, which we've already held a public hearing for, and then the other part that you're discussing is what's in an R1 residential zone generally,
right,
what people are asking for. And that's where there's a lot of commentary back and forth, is the R1 residential zone,
right,
which are single-family homes.
So that's my look at this so that it can help soothe the confusion.
Oh, just a question. So, and this is, I've listened to some of the conversation about bed and breakfast, but I guess it's a question in my own mind. So the Airbnb you're seeing is not totally separate, but a separate issue from which we don't have Planning Commission recommendations. But will it be a subsidiary ever of the bed and breakfast regulations?
I think that
may or may not, and it might not be.
Well, I think it's
or,
a different definition too, and so I think that it's a more sticky wicket of a process than just having a bed and breakfast out on Stimson Avenue. And I think that people coming forward and talking about what's been going on has shown that it's a bigger issue. And I would like to go forward with the Planning Commission so that we can get that sort of out of the way.
Okay.
So, and for our two new people, this was introduced last year, and we had a public hearing on it, and so.
Is there any current requirement that the bed and breakfast be defined as an owner-occupied situation?
Right, that's some of the definitional changes that were recommended by the Planning Commission.
Are there exceptions to that, though?
I'm sorry?
Is there an exception to that, or do all bed and breakfasts have to be owner-occupied?
How about if we resend out the Planning Commission? I don't remember the exact wording.
Okay.
But this whole issue came up because of the R1 issue and some of those issues. I think that in some terms we all think of bed and breakfasts, and it came up as a more commercial.
Right.
And that came up because some people went before the Board of Appeals, asking for the changes and variances. Thank you. So, does that kind of make sense?
And are we just considering R1, or are we also looking at R2?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue that Planning Commission is going to have to look at. I think the issue is we got a recommendation from the Planning Code, from the Planning Commission, and that was about basically a definitional change, expanding it to a certain degree, I think. And having, right now in the code, it only allows certain streets, and expanding that to include more commercial areas throughout the city, not just East State Street and Stimson or Court or whatever specific streets are identified right now. When we were discussing that and had a public hearing, people came forward and said, well, what about all these Airbnbs? And not having, looked for bed and breakfasts in Athens, because I live here, and I don't need a bed and breakfast. I started looking online, everybody else did, and it's like a whole nother... Yeah, it's another almost definition, it's another issue. So I think it would be fair for the Planning Commission to come forward, look at it, and make recommendations, because we can't really, I don't feel comfortable expanding the recommendations that the Planning Commission brought forward because it wasn't part of their discussion. So.
I interject. I attended several of the Planning Commission's meetings about this topic, and the way I think the way it evolved was that what came forward to us from the Planning Commission was an idea that what Paul Weil, the former mayor, was talking about baby steps. We'll try this, see how this works. Is it working? If it doesn't, we modify it, we change it. If we're not going to move forward until we know that what we've just recommended is a success or not. So I think if we go to the Planning Commission so soon and say, well, we need something for R1s, R2s, we're not even giving this, we haven't even passed this yet. This isn't even a law, it's a recommendation. So until we know that this thing is working, it's not really, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go for R1s and R2s that soon.
But it would have to go through the whole process.
It'll have to go, the Planning Commission could say, no.
Right.
No R1s, no R2s. No, we're not even going to consider it.
Right.
Okay, end of story, the end. So nothing comes forward, so we can't do anything. We can't do anything until the Planning Commission makes a recommendation for the code.
And so, theoretically, we could bring forward an ordinance that builds on the Planning Commission, because as a council, we can listen to the Planning Commission's recommendations, we can ignore the Planning Commission's recommendations, we can expand it, we can reduce it. But we do need recommendations to work upon. I'm not comfortable doing any sort of expansion or contraction on the recommendations that was brought forward about bed and breakfasts, because it wasn't part of the discussion when they discussed it. And, there is an issue of people being antsy about it and some people being antsy against it. And it's just, I guess what I'm recommending is people have patience on that issue. Steve?
I think it's fine what you're saying in terms of spreading it out, having it work through the channels as, an idea for the Airbnb concept, or actually social economy with everything. We're talking Uber, we're talking Link, we're talking all kinds of things that maybe that could fall under the comprehensive plan task force to initially work through and start to envision the next 20 years as we look out.
Right.
So the correspondence that I'm receiving right now, should I be sending them to the planning committee?
Well, I think that right now, they're, I'm sure, getting it too. Yeah, you can send it, forward it to them. Sure. We understand that this whole issue came up. It's kind of humorous because the whole issue of bed and breakfast on Stimson and everything was totally subsumed about this whole discussion. And I would like to get rid of the original commission recommendation to get that out of the way, and then we can go forward in a way that makes sense for everybody. May not be fast as some people want, may not be what people need right now, but just to make sure that people understand what we're doing and that. So.
I would also add that by slowing the process down on our residential areas, R1s specifically, we're also looking at what other cities are doing. And a lot of cities who rushed into this are pulling back. We're seeing legislation in other cities. So I think we're learning as we go along. We don't have to make some of those same mistakes. So I think if we educate ourselves well, we can look at what some of these other municipalities are doing or not doing and read what's out there as well.
Just one last thing. I agree with Member Pappy, and I would highly encourage council to go to the National League of Cities and look to see. I attended one session that was specifically Airbnb and city impacts, and there's a lot of information out there. In particular, when we're looking at a city where 72% of our housing stock is rental units, so just I would encourage you to look into the National League of Cities.
Right. So what I will do is I will bring forward, can all the recommendations be repassed, especially to our new people, and that I will bring those forward on Monday, please.
Okay.
So I guess that was bigger than a miscellaneous, but that's my miscellaneous.
Any other items then for planning and development? We'll move on then to transportation with Councilmember Pappy chairing.
Thank you, President, nicely. International Street Fair. We've had a meeting, several city people, Paula and Ron and myself, and we've met with university staff. And due to the weather from the weekend, the main organizer wasn't able to attend tonight. She's still stranded somewhere. And so we just really need to postpone this. And I'm going to suggest we just postpone it till the first February committee meeting. I didn't know if there were any comments, Paula, that you wanted to share. Should we mention the date?
Yeah.
My takeaway from our meeting was the consideration was to have it on the same day, but move it, not closing the intersection of Washington, but closing Union and having it all the way to President, allowing them to have the backdrop of the College Green as well as a portion of East Union.
Right.
Out,
So we're just working on that, and the international folks really need to certainly be involved with that, and I don't think there was enough time to meet with them. And that's really all we need to share on that, except I did want to ask, since this is wrapped up with the Numberfest organizer, I think you have a meeting coming up, or did you just have a meeting?
We have a meeting this week.
Okay, and I mentioned some of these other issues that go along with the coordination of this event. I think are an important issue as to where their drop-offs are, where their pickups are, where tickets are being sold, and how that might impact positively or negatively with this event, with the International Street Fair. Mayor?
I'm hoping that one of the things that will also be alleviated this year is there not being BYOB, where people are dragging cases of beer all over the place, and I think that was a lot of the interruption last year with the International Street Fest was, X number of people hauling case after case right through the crowd as they were heading on to the Numberfest festivities. Again, as I understand it with the organizer, that's not going to take place this year. That's not going to alleviate everything. I get that, but I think it could curtail some of the disruption that occurred. And of course, the realignment of where the International Street Fest will be. I do need to share that I'm, for a fest that's been going on for 34 years, I am a little disheartened that it has to make some major adjustments, albeit the street. It's still something being worked through.
And to clarify, there was no public rights of way that were authorized for any of those pickups. So whether or not rogue pickups occur and what have you, but it was not authorized.
I think that's an important point to make, and I think if that would occur, hopefully we'd have some enforcement standard. All right. Any other questions on International Street Fair? Okay, so hopefully in a couple weeks we'll be discussing it again, having a firmer discussion. Salt truck. We have I won't even say aging, I'll say aged vehicle that has to be replaced. The pictures were pretty bad of this vehicle, and we need to go forward with an appropriation to buy a new one. Did you have any?
Just that,
like to add
know
there?
this is one of our city engineer's beloved trucks. It's a good truck, but it's it's run its life course. I don't know if this can get on camera, but it could almost serve as a spreader without having to operate the spreader itself. It's in need of replacement. 128 has served its life well for the city.
Question.
Go ahead. Yes, question.
Or comment. Green Fleet.
Our city engineer is tracking that, knows that this will have to go through Green Fleet. I think the pickings are slim in terms of replacement of a truck of this nature, but sure, it'll go through all the proper channels. I should also point out that it's going to be the funding's coming from 220 TC 500, and the range that we're looking is 80 to 100K for this particular vehicle. It's one of these two that has at least a 6-month build-out period. This is, you're buying the chassis and then customizing it, much like we did with the pumper truck and our ladder truck too, which those obviously took a longer period of time, but there's some lead time. So to get on it now so that we have a truck ready to roll for next winter.
Right.
So the cost, 80 to 100,000 is what we're looking at.
Right.
Any other questions?
Was this totally unexpected or something that we knew was going to happen out there that we'd need to have replaced? I mean, sometimes we have a mower in the middle of mowing season that goes, and so we don't have a...
It's in his capital budget.
Okay.
And he just has to prioritize, and this has become the priority.
A higher priority. Okay, thank you.
It can be used for other purposes.
I believe that is the case, that it can be used for other purposes. I should also add, too, that, we had 5 salt trucks rolling all weekend during this last snow event, as well as a truck with a plow, and that has helped immensely with their ability to get out there early and get the streets cleared.
Absolutely.
And again, this is replacing with a newer, stronger truck to keep that as our game plan moving forward.
To follow up on the snow and everything, I had many people talk about how, Sunday it was, open and clear. We took my mother-in-law out for a drive, and it was, just great. And so everybody did such a really great job, and Andy is, kudos to his workers. That's hard. They're out there a long time.
I would only add, because it's Transportation Committee, that I really want to mention and thank those people who do clear their sidewalks. It still amazes me how people have lived in a neighborhood for 20, 10, whatever, many years and still don't clear their sidewalks. I don't understand that. I mean, it could be one of their neighbors who falls and hurts themselves that they see every day. But for those people who were clearing their sidewalks, thank you. We really appreciate that. We just hope that at the next snow event, people will get out there and clear their sidewalks.
If I might ask, who's in charge of enforcing that? Because as I walked home tonight, I nearly fell twice. And
there you go.
And I would like to know, it's nice to hope they clear the sidewalk, but it would be nicer to know they will clear the sidewalk.
It's code's responsibility to be tracking that, and I believe it's 4 hours after snowfall ends that the citizens are required to get out and start clearing their sidewalks. Member Pappy, I agree with you that there were a number, and I noticed those too, and there were some hiccups, I think citywide.
I think the weekend is always an issue because code doesn't. We do have litter enforcement out there on the weekend, but code, no.
I agree. It was the timing of the storm, too. Nothing that we can do. We can't control the weather, obviously. And the level 3 wasn't lifted until 2 p.m. on a Saturday, pushing you to 6 p.m. to clear that. It's dark by 6 p.m.
Right.
You're not going to be shoveling in the dark. And then the next morning, we're talking a Sunday. So, it's...
I think Patrick's making an excellent point. Today's Monday evening, and you're still walking home on snow-covered
And if I could add, there seem to be the same places each year that do nothing for their share of the sidewalks, and their sidewalks are extensive. They do nothing.
Absolutely.
I wonder why isn't a code officer knocking on their door saying, it's time?
They were sent out today,
Thank
at least, but again, we're behind it. Councilman Butler pointed out over the weekend our city sidewalk areas, a few of those. It's just, again, it's rare that it occurs on the weekend and then it happens, but we will try to do better as always.
But
we absolutely will.
one thing that I notice, it's some businesses too. And they know that they're responsible. And, especially when it's a very busy sidewalks where the bus may be stopping and you don't want people driving because they don't want to drive on the snow, and we don't want a bunch of people driving around. The buses are going and they need to get someplace, and they have to get off in a big giant, pile of, a snow Matterhorn. And what got me driving around on Sunday, this places had their parking lots plowed, but not the sidewalks. And it's part of doing business. And that was just, or that looked like some of them just plowed their parking lots right onto the sidewalk. And that is just makes me very upset. So I think that it's business. Fraternities, sororities were warned last year a lot, and I think that they, have done much better this year. And the businesses need to step up.
Yes, Member Butler.
Thank you. And perhaps under City Services Safety, we might be able to address this as a committee meeting at some point about sidewalk maintenance and regarding snow. I've had a couple discussions with council members as well as the mayor's office. The legislation up north in states such as Vermont and Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, they're used to getting snow. They tackle this a little differently. They actually send their crews out or have prearranged groups, contracts that will then shovel the sidewalks and then bill the owner or homeowner. That way you know that your infrastructure of foot sidewalks, that highway of itself is then taken care of and easily accessible. So that's something that perhaps we can look at in a committee meeting to see if we want to go that direction. Obviously it would challenge our budget some, but something we can look at and explore.
I know the Transportation Advisory Group that I chair, this comes up every winter frequently, and that's been an idea that's been really discussed in that meeting as well, and having private contractors who, will get out there and do it. Yeah. And the billing structure is the issue, but we do that for other things. We do that for grass.
Yes, but it's a little different when the grass grows and you have time to send out the certified letter. And
I understand.
by the time we get through that process under Ohio Revised Code.
Right. And we've discussed this. So other cities, obviously in Ohio, I'm sure Northern Ohio have dealt with this. So other statutory cities in Ohio, there must be a ruling that we could look at.
Well, that's the law director again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and this snow event is a prime example where today was 42 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. So, and unfortunately, I believe that some people's mindset still is, well, it'll warm up and it'll melt, and which is wrong. The right thing to do, for just anyone's ability to, have a free, and clear throughfare, to include those living with disabilities, to where, a 12-inch path is not an acceptable path.
And the mayor's office got a phone call from me on Friday afternoon regarding someone in a wheelchair waiting for a bus at 4 o'clock. It was snowing heavily, and the bus drove by them. So I think that was taken care of, and all of that. But it was so slick and so difficult, I didn't necessarily want to put those people in my vehicle either, because I didn't want to get stuck. I mean, it was a difficult situation, and they were waiting in the snow until I believe that they were picked up and taken care of. But it was a difficult situation.
That sounds like a good idea to bring it forward now while we've got examples of things that happened with the last snow. It's fresh in our minds, and have a discussion on it for a future committee meeting.
I have one miscellaneous item. Our public transportation system people are going to come forward on February 26th and give us their February 22nd and give us their annual report. So that's our bus folks, APCAP folks.
Okay. Any other items for transportation?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to finance and personnel with Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. There's a couple items on the agenda. The first one is storm tunnel repair expenditure increase. Would the administration care to tell us what they need?
Sure.
Hopefully.
The contractor is obligated, to pay prevailing wage, and so that's basically what's leading the increase in the price, to where you appropriate $90,000, and so it's going to go up by $31,500 to match prevailing wage.
So the contractor was unaware that they had to pay the prevailing wage when they put the contract in?
I would say we were that there were changes this year in what's rehabilitation versus new construction, and they separated out different forms of infrastructure. So it was significantly reduced to like around $26,000. Because it was an emergency, we needed to proceed. And so they're operating under that. They're actually finishing up this project, and we just need to bring that forward in order to pay. We'll probably have a single invoice from this. So the good news is that the repair went well.
Question?
So there was an additional issue once they got into the storm tunnel and had to repair anything else. I mean, they...
Not above the $90,000 that was appropriated. That's what you're asking, right? Right. No, this isn't an addition because of unforeseens that have showed up, during the dig and to see what was going on. No. This is coming out of stormwater too, by the way. 755.
Okay. I have a couple of items under appropriations. Received a communication from the auditor, Kathy Hedge. She states in her communication appropriations are needed. Reduce the appropriations in 231 first computer fund by $55,000, stating that it's been over budgeted. And then another line, increase the appropriation 730 parking garage fund by $161,000 for transfer to the public garage debt fund for loan payment. Then in parentheses, the loan payment has already been appropriated in the debt fund. Does that sound?
Just paying the bills as far as it comes to that. And just to keep you apprised, and I've attempted to and been bringing forward, the parking garage is going to have an overrun. We're just in the process of defining that because it's done in two parts. The construction is on their kind of punch list. Then they'll come back in May. But we also have the elevator components.
Right.
Is this our first loan payment? Is this our first loan payment on the garage?
It could very well be, because I believe the other one had been paid off. So.
This is the loan payment. It doesn't say which one, but if the other one's been paid off, then this would kind of indicate it's the first.
Yeah.
Okay, so should have something ready to bring forward on Monday. Introduce it. And here's something that budget matter that's close to all our hearts here. City Council's budget. It appears that we're slightly underfunded. Our professional services, we requested $16,045 and received $2,000. We need $14,045. Professional services is everything that comes through council other than paper clips, paper supplies, and for some strange reason, computer software is lumped into supplies also. But there it is. So anyway, we get this amount almost every year. It doesn't change. It's just a standard item. So anyway. Next is bonds. Requested 1,112. We received 200, so we need 912. Subscriptions and publications, we requested 5,265. We received 3,000, so we need 2,265. Subscription publications, most of that goes to the government channel. And that's just everything that they need to keep the system up and running in terms of their manuals and the newest and greatest stuff that's out there. So. Then traveling and training. A lot of times we have council members who want to attend a conference, League of Cities and so on. We requested 4,000. We received 0. So you're not going anywhere, folks. Now, I, for one, was planning in March to go to the community center to attend a public records workshop. Now I see that I can't go.
A lot of mileage in that.
I know. Yeah. What are we going to do? So we're requesting to have that money put back in and so we can meet our financial obligations as city council.
Don't feel slighted.
Any members here care to talk on this?
I might just add that we've been pretty slim in going to professional conferences, but I just think those are essential. The International Town Gown Association was really, I think, a profitable endeavor last year, and the mayor presented at that. And we have an opportunity. I think you've found that the National League of Cities could potentially be a good link for us. And likewise, we have 2 new council members that we're encouraging to go to the state orientation that's run by the Ohio Municipal League. That's a really valuable resource. So I think these are some pretty basic costs, and I know you've been supportive of that.
Very much so. This clearly was an oversight, and so I ask council not to feel slighted that there was no intent. This is easy to adjust.
Fast budgeting, maybe. So I would just say, as council president, I would respectfully request that, I know there was a couple things that I had, there was discussion of me going, but really the funds weren't available, or there were other people. So I think there needs to be a parliamentarian here who knows who's been where and whatever, so we can hopefully have a little bit of equity on if people request to go.
That's correct.
No, absolutely.
So that would just be a suggestion.
Sure.
But it was saying like it should be sort of a round robin type of thing where a couple of council members would attend, come back, present to council, and talk to us about what they learned, and the next year, so on. One other thing that touches with our cable access, I asked our Scott Thompson, our technician, to talk about this if he wants to come out. Right on cue.
Entree-vous.
So cable access is not Matt Green's world? This is something separate? You're not talking about the access channel on Richland Avenue?
No.
No?
There.
Okay. Didn't you get a copy?
No, I didn't bring one with me.
Here.
Doggone it. Okay,
That's all right.
I'll read it here. Civic Plus, that's our website host, says here, would like to add Civic Ready to provide emergency communications through our website redesign. That would be $7,850 for the Civic Plus, and then the web redesign would be $2,200 for a total of $9,950. Go ahead.
This has been year 4 for our current website. We're on year 4, and when we signed up for that, year 4 was our redesign year, and basically they gave a substantial discount to redesign. So I think it's about $1,500, and I think $600 is for training. So this is our year that we'd like to do some tweaks to the website, and primarily in my mind navigation based. Since we've been with this website for a while, we kind of know, what we liked in 2012 and 2011 going up to this, and it's not the best way maybe to do it. We've learned a little bit, so that's that.
And when you're talking about the website, you're talking about the one that the
main
people,
city site.
the main city site.
Main city site.
So our citizens come on to the internet, and that's what they see
Yes.
coming into the city website.
Yes. Then the other part.
So you'd like to improve the navigation, is what you were saying?
Yeah, primarily, yeah. And with this revamp, there's a new behind-the-scenes system that we'll be upgrading to, and that's part of the training, just because it's a different system than what we're used to.
Okay.
The Civic Ready, the Deputy Service Safety Director, Ron Lucas, and I attended a webinar last week, and I briefed the Service Safety Director too on it. It's a very robust emergency notification system, and it would act as a sister website for our current site. Right now, the way we do emergency communications is people can register for a text or an email, and on the website there's a little black bar that appears. We'd like to redo that a little bit. Basically, the Civic Ready provides a portal that would include any kind of emergency communications. So we're looking at 7 ways to reach somebody who's subscribed. And one of those is basically a reverse 911. And I think as we've kind of been into the cell phone age, if your phone buzzes or rings or does something in your pocket, you're not likely to pick it up or pay attention to it. But these days, if your phone rings, you pay attention. So we think that's a really good feature. There's also some information about sheltering. There's FEMA preparedness information we can have in there, and there's a blog section which basically would be an ongoing report of an emergency event. So it's much different than what we have right now. So we feel that would be a great resource for us to have.
Sounds impressive.
I will comment that for the snow emergency, the levels this weekend, apparently people were concerned. They saw it, for instance, with the sheriff's website or Facebook. They saw it there, but there was no other notification. Their website had not changed for people who don't have Facebook, and there was I just noticed there was some discussion going back and forth about not knowing what level they were on.
Right.
And
we had a pretty good team. The Service Safety Director and Deputy Service Safety Director and myself tried to keep on top of that this weekend through what we pushed out.
Yeah.
So we were just going by what EMA and the sheriff released. But when they don't update their stuff as quickly,
it's
creates a lag.
Yeah.
Other question?
Does this new service, does this add more cost? It sounds like it's a subscription-based.
It's an add-on, yes.
How much? Just out of curiosity.
I think the initial design in first year is about $7,000 or just under $7,000.
7,850.
And that's an increase over hosting the site. I assume we're some
Right,
other
and
entity.
that's part of that design. It does drop down in subsequent years as far as the cost, but yeah, that's initial, get it created and put up, yeah.
Then you have one here, virtual weather software.
Yeah, TriCaster, which is our switching system that controls all of our cameras and audio in this room for all of our meetings. There's a major upgrade for it. We're on year 4 for that machine, and this is one of the first years that a major software update's taken place. One of the things we'll be able to do, or hope to do, more automated in preparation for our daily newscast that we're working on, is some automated weather graphics. It's a lot of graphic essence applications in the software upgrade. The other thing that's major of that upgrade is that the ability to take in IP address devices as a switcher input, which basically means if you have an IP camera, a computer laptop, or something else on our network, we can actually pull that right in to broadcast. So it's pretty nice.
Wow. And let's see, that would be for $1,995.
Yes.
Okay. Anything from the administration about this?
Scott shared with me let me get the name right here, Civic Ready component. That's something we're indeed interested in terms of, the push out immediately and the alerts that will guide people to read what the state of the emergency is. So
It kind of sounds like an app I have on my cell phone from the Weather Channel that will send out a notice that there's a blizzard coming and it's 4 hours away.
Right.
2 days.
The nice thing about Civic Ready is it's kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of this, and you can have the FEMA app and the Weather Channel app and all this kind of stuff, but it really requires people to have take it upon themselves to acquire all this. And the Civic Ready puts a lot of it in one place. There is some FEMA integration in their IPOS system, which is their pushed alert system from the FEMA center, integrates into this, so any kind of FEMA information will go through this too. So.
Lane closures, roadway closures, things that we do. Pardon me?
School closure?
School closures, all of that can be.
We can work on that, yeah.
It's really nice when you have schools.
And the nice thing, when we move away from what we're doing right now, it frees that component up of our current website. So up at the top, we can have more current now type information, lane closure happening now, avoid this part of town for a road construction project. So it's more immediate. We do put out the press releases.
That's right.
But, when you're putting out something maybe a couple, 3-4 days in advance, people forget. We would repurpose that section for more day-to-day information.
Or if there was a major accident.
Sure. Yeah.
Water main blows up.
Sure, I was going to say fire hydrant testing. There's lots of stuff that happen in neighborhoods where, it's a nice reminder.
Right.
Just kind of running the numbers through my head and thinking about the website that we have for our business. I know a lot of people will think of GoDaddy and you pay $10.95 and you get a free website. The prices that you're talking about are very in line and very reasonable with what I know in the business end of my business. And the websites get very complicated very quickly. So it's nothing that we'd want to ever undertake ourselves. And at the same time, I don't see this being out of line at all cost-wise.
Mr. Mayor?
I think this also affords us an opportunity to make sure that all our boards and commissions get their minutes up on this new website, this new platform. And for someone who's seen the evolution of websites, i.e. through OU, 4 years to clean things up and bring yourself up to, par with where the technologies are at. I think the timing is good. It needs to be done. As fresh as it looks now, it's dated.
That's all I have for you.
Okay.
Thanks. Very enlightening. Glad to see we're moving forward on this type of thing. I'm encouraged. Well, so Monday we'll bring forth some legislation and get this money back in the budget. Miscellaneous. Seemed like there was a miscellaneous, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, you remembered it. Okay. Go.
Depot Street.
You're on.
Yeah, with Depot Street, there's a lot going on.
Depot Street.
So we have a bid opening in 1 week from today.
You're talking about the lift station.
Correct, for
Okay.
the repairs to the lift station. The city engineer and his project manager extraordinaire has provided 3 different scenarios. One is it comes in under the engineer's estimate, no legislation needed other than proceeding with the project, other than any alternatives, but we could do that through regular. If it comes in within 10%, we would deem that urgent. And since we're not opening till 1 or 2 o'clock, I can check on the hour. It's already out there posted next Monday. We want to be able to, if it comes within 10%, we would want to be able to award, so we would request that you read, suspend, emergency clause, what have you, on that night. The third scenario is if it comes in over and we're back to the drawing table and coming back to you. There was another one on the fourth possibility. So,
Still under plan.
still under planning. So that may, if we know that we're pulling out the bypass pump from that, we would know that and be able to have that up to you on Monday as well. So.
Okay.
The bypass pump could have a lot of other uses, especially down at EPW, to where it could be strong enough to, even in emergency situations, to where we can sit there and hook that up and let it run for a longer period of time than we had. Plus, to have to lease or rent a pump, you're leasing, if I'm not mistaken, by the hour on that, and it becomes very expensive to, in terms of a build-in into the bid process. Just cost. So we feel that this is, to go that route, to purchase one that we have for backup all the time anyway, is prudent.
Okay.
We have an August 31st deadline in order to use those CDBG critical infrastructure grant funding. That's part of the reason it's a complicated project. As you know, we opened the first bids and they were thrown, and we had one that was over $1 million. So we just would like to have that be available as an option. I've talked with the council clerk. She said she can have that ready right after we open the bids on Monday.
Question?
I think it's just important to remember that we have been working on this. This was initially part of the Union Street project, which was completed in the summer of 2014. Union Street was completed. So again, the funding is out there, the CDBG grant is out there, and we need to move forward and cross our fingers that a bid comes in that is affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just remind us of what has already been appropriated for this project?
Here's your attachment. So it's actually kind of broken out.
It is broken out. It was, $616,000, $250 in there as well, available for construction.
Thank you.
And additional ones for engineering and design. So those monies would come from sewer, $750, or the sewer debt, depending on it's healthy.
It's a tight time frame that we're having to deal with to turn this around, and also keeping in mind that this is a major lift station, a major pump. It's feeding the whole our medical corridor basically, as well as West Side.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
Okay, we'll move on to Committee of the Whole. And Councilmember Cochran, I believe you had an update on something.
Thank you. This is just a reminder. I believe the mayor spoke to this last week, but just a reminder to folks that the city has transitioned to the use of brown paper bags for our yard waste pickup. So we don't want folks to be putting, of course, you probably don't have much yard waste right now with the snow on, but as the weather changes and the season approaches again, be prepared so that you can now purchase brown bags from the city in lieu of the stickers. Stickers will still be available to place on bundled sticks and branches, and residents can still call the Engineering and Public Works office at 592-3343 for pickup or 593-7636. So this is a transition to help us be more sustainable, a little more environmentally friendly, so we don't have those plastics to deal with. The brown paper bags can simply biodegrade, and this will help with that process.
It's worth noting that this will remove about 7,000 plastic bags from the waste stream with this move to paper. So significant.
Question, if someone puts a plastic bag out there, will EPW pick it up, or how will that be handled?
They have 1 month. I think it's as of March 1st. There's no. Okay. Do you have that letter? We sent a letter out to those.
The dates that we have, that I have in front of me, are that we are beginning February 1st. we will change from resident-provided plastic bags to city-provided paper bags. The 30-gallon paper bags will be available for purchase at the same price as the current stickers, which are $1.50 each, beginning January 19th. So they are already available at the utility billing office, which is downstairs in this building, the code office, and the front desk at the community center. And as of March 1st, 2016, we will only accept the city paper bags for yard waste, but you will still be able to use the stickers to attach to bundled tree limbs and sticks. If folks would like to trade in their stickers for the paper bags, they may do so at one of the locations already listed.
These bags as well will be stamped with the City of Athens on them, so just know that they will be identifiable bags as they're being placed out there as opposed to random paper bags.
Okay, good. We have two other items, and these have to do with local boards and commissions that the city has, and we rely on volunteers in the community to help us with this. One of them is the Local Board of Tax Review, and it's for an appeal process, much as Council Member McGee was asking earlier about a litter appeal process. This is an income tax appeal process, and so we have a board that reviews any kind of appeals that might come forward. These the regulations have changed. It used to be that council members appointed all, or the mayor appointed all, excuse me, and now it is the council members appoint two of the board members, the mayor appoints one. We do have three people and an alternate who have agreed to serve on this. It will be a 2-year term, so we'll be bringing forward names next week. Rick Abel has agreed to serve on this, as has Mr. Bick Weissenrieder, Mr. Steve Sloan, and then Ann Gabriel. So thanks to those persons in advance. That is on a 2-year appointment from what I'm reading in the regulations. The other commission has been one that I think had its original legislation in 1977, Community Relations Commission. And the appointments to this are for 3-year terms, and it looks like our last ones had terms expiring in 2013, so we'd like to move forward and get that Community Relations Commission activated again. So this is in a way of notifying council members. I believe the mayor has received some suggestions on people who might be interested in serving, but if there are other people that are interested out there in the community, or there are people that you think would be good persons for consideration on this, there can be 9 members appointed to this commission. And this commission is for a 3-year term. So we will be working towards that. Councilmember Butler. Thank
you, President Isley. Could you kindly remind us and the audience what that particular group focuses on?
It's a very broad range. It endeavors to bring about and maintain harmony within the Athens community. So they promote mutual understanding, disseminate information and educational materials, assist various groups and agencies and communities to cooperate in educational campaigns, cooperate with city, state, and federal and other agencies to promote better human relations. So, and promoting harmony in the field of human relations. And continually assisting in the preparation of city legislation in terms of its human relations impact. So kind of a broad-reaching, but that's fine. And I think we probably have some interested people. Yes, Councilmember Pappy.
So the last time it was active was 2013?
We had members' terms that were expiring in 2013. Yes, so there's an interest in it, and timing's a good. Pardon me? Yes.
I just was wondering, is this a good time to talk about the City Arts Commission?
We probably could talk about that later. It's not on our agenda tonight, but I appreciate we're always interested in comments. So we're here after the meeting to be able to make a comment or to receive your comment or hear your suggestions on that. So thank you. And tonight is a committee meeting night, and I know, Mr. Spotthorth, you've come, and we don't we have items on the agenda tonight, and so I know you're concerned. We are here and available to talk with you briefly after our committee meetings end tonight. And then when we have regular sessions of council is when we have that opportunity for citizens to speak for items not on the agenda. So
May I just leave this with Debbie Walker?
that would be fine. And we will be here for a few minutes after the council meeting. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. All right, if there aren't any other items for Committee of the Whole, we'll consider ourselves adjourned at 8:35 p.m. Thanks for joining us.